In this video, I'm going to cover removing midsole paint from the Jordan 3s using Midsole Magic from Raleigh Restorations and acetone. I removed the midsole paint from my powder blue Jordan 3s and repainted them all white. As you can see in the finished picture, I did mess up the uppers of the 3s because I didn't tape them off, but I'm actually getting the uppers reconstructed for some one-of-one customs. Since this was my first midsole paint removal project, I should have taped the uppers just to get practice and experience for removing midsole paint. Here's a few shots of my powder blue 3s before removing midsole paint. These are the supplies I used for Midsole Magic. 2 paintbrushes, one wide and one skinny, a Scotch-Brite scour pad to rub the paint off, and of course Midsole Magic. I also had a bowl of water, and this was just used to dip the scour pad into to clean off the excess paint I removed. I wanted a clean all-white midsole for my custom 3s. I could have used 2010 Silver Anniversary 3s or the 2007 Pure Money 3s for the all-white midsole, but I didn't want to pay the current market prices. I just needed a cheap DS pair of Jordan 3s that I can easily repaint the midsole, so I went with the powder blue 3s because I found them on Soul Supremacy for near retail price. My custom 3s will have the uppers reconstructed with different materials, so I didn't want to spend too much for basically a midsole. I could have used Spizikes for the Jordan 3 midsole, however I needed a dead stock Jordan 3 to be used as the base shoe, because new materials will be cut from them, and patterns will be cut from them. It's best to have a dead stock upper, because this is before the materials have been stretched out from wearing them. Midsole Crisis 101 did a YouTube video where he removed midsole paint using Dad's Easy Spray paint remover, but I decided to try Midsole Magic instead. People have commented that they are the same exact product, however I haven't seen proof of this, and maybe for a future project I'll try removing midsole paint using Dad's Easy Spray. One thing I should mention for supplies is to use some disposable gloves to protect your hands. I got some Midsole Magic on my hands when removing paint, and this stuff does burn. If you notice here, I applied a thin coat of Midsole Magic, but this was my first application and I didn't know what I was doing. You really need to slather this stuff on to get the most paint off. The YouTube videos I pulled up of people removing paint generally had older Jordan 3s, but since the powder blue 3s were released last year, this midsole paint was pretty difficult to remove. It's almost as if the midsole paint was latex because it had to do multiple applications of Midsole Magic. Even then, I wasn't able to get all the paint off. I still had to use acetone to clean up after Midsole Magic. When applying Midsole Magic, it states to leave it on for about 5 minutes before scrubbing paint off, but I went up to 8 minutes for at least a few of the applications. When you apply Midsole Magic, you'll see the midsole paint start to bubble up, and this is how you know it's working. I didn't count how many times I reapplied Midsole Magic, but it was a handful of times. Here's a video of me scrubbing the paint off after Midsole Magic was applied. I used a Scotch-Brite scour pad and a little bit of water to clean off the excess paint from the pad. You don't want to scrub too hard on the midsoles because you can damage them, but you do want to be firm. Here's a few shots of the midsoles after multiple Midsole Magic applications. As you can see, it did not remove all of the midsole paint. At this point, I had used up almost half the bottle of Midsole Magic and still had a lot of paint left to remove. So from this point, I decided to go ahead and use acetone to finish the job. Quick note on the supplies I used for this part. I bought some acetone from Walmart for about $4, some disposable gloves, which I should have used from the start, a glass bowl for the acetone, cotton balls, and some Q-tips. You want to dip the cotton balls in the acetone and squeeze out the excess back into the bowl before applying it to the midsole. You don't want to rub too soft or too hard on the midsoles because acetone can and will eat the midsoles. At one point while I was removing paint, the acetone had caused tiny bumps in the midsole, almost like air had gotten underneath and caused an air bubble. So I left the area alone for a while, and when I came back later, the bumps were gone. You just want to be careful during this part. I'm hoping that I didn't damage my midsoles in the long run. A quick tip, the Q-tips should be used for the smaller, hard-to-reach areas on the midsoles, like in between ridges. Another thing you can try is to stuff some cotton balls in the air bubble area to prevent acetone from getting in there. So here's a few shots of the midsoles with as much paint as I can remove without going crazy. The midsoles should be smooth to the touch. It should feel like smooth rubber. Since the top parts of the midsoles were black, they did leave a dark tint, but the paint was removed. At this point, the midsoles were ready to paint. I hope you liked this video and got some good info from it. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below and I'll get you an answer. I'll do a future video of how I painted the midsoles. You can follow me on Instagram at DJBalance, DeeJayBalance, and on Twitter at DJBalance7, DeeJayBalance7. I'll post some pictures and I'll keep you updated on when I upload the midsole painting video. Thanks for watching.